am Yelena Drabkin, and we'll talk today about VR. But before I will tell you about VR, what I actually want to know is, what do you all think when I say VR? Headset. What else comes to mind?
Roller coasters.
Roller coasters, great. Anybody else?
Movies.
Say it again.
Movies.
Movies, all right.
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One, great, thank you, Ha. It's all that and so much more, and today we'll talk about it. Imagine it's a nice December day in the country like, in an area of the country like San Francisco, where there's no snow in December. It's nice, sunny outside. There's a school, and it's very relevant for me today because today is actually first day of school for my first grader. So it's a first grade class. Kids are really excited. It's about 11 o'clock because they're about to go to lunch. The next minute, the earthquake happens. The building feels like somebody picks it up and starts shaking it in all the directions. And there's a panic that sets in there. It was in Armenia on December 7th, 1988. And I was one of those lucky kids who actually managed to get out of the building alive. Fast forward 30 years, I am in Stanford lab. Jeremy Bailenson has a lab that's been studying VR for about 30 years now. And I put a headset on, and the experience that I go through is an earthquake experience. So I put a headset on, and the boxes are starting falling. I fold under the table that's there, and the same feeling that I had 30 years ago of panic sets in with me. And when the experience ends, what I do is I actually crawl from under the table, even though my brain knows that people are talking around me and I'm not there and there's no earthquake anymore. But physiologically, the way I respond to that is like, wow. Like, I could explain, for 30 years, I tried to tell people in so many words how it felt to be through an earthquake, but now I can actually share that feeling. And just think about it, we live in the area that prompts the earthquakes. And VR is actually a perfect media to teach people about natural disasters. And not only about natural disasters, but actually about how do you deal with them. When we are in panic, it's really hard to make rational decisions. But VR gives you an opportunity to go through this mental repetition and be able to actually know what to do without panic. Another story that I want to tell you today is a story about Derek, who is my CEO. I work for a company called STRIVR. And in 2015, Derek was doing his thesis in Stanford, and he was also an assistant coach. And he was coaching a football team. How many of you know the role of the quarterback in the game? Great. Awesome. So I will tell you. So I didn't actually know either what was the role of the quarterback. So I actually had a friend take me to the beach and teach me about that. So I can actually talk to what our company does partially. So quarterbacks has a very challenging role. They have to make a decision in milliseconds. And in order for them to make a decision in milliseconds, they actually have to go through a mental repetitions of the game. So when the ball in their hands and they need to throw it, they actually know what to do. And so Derek had a great idea. Why don't we use VR as a way to teach quarterback how to make decisions faster, because milliseconds matter. Upon graduation from Stanford in 2015, Derek goes on to found a company called STRIVR and sells the product to a lot of NFL teams. One of the Walmart executives sees this experience in one of the also college football teams, and he says, great, I have this problem with enterprise training in Walmart. Can you solve my problem for me? And STRIVR was up for a challenge. So fast forward to now, STRIVR has trained 500,000 employees in VR in so many different subjects. How to handle a stress of a Black Friday. If any of you have gone shopping through Black Friday, imagine working through Black Friday. How to teach people how to provide feedback. We had some conversations today about how you would have provided a feedback to people that you work with. So that stress that you feel before you either get on the stage or get in a room with people and try to provide them that feedback, you can actually put a headset on and have that conversation with Avatar, and again, get that feeling out of your way so you can have a rational conversation. One of the other things that we actually also have training employees in Walmart on is empathy. What comes to mind for you or when I say empathy? What kind of experiences are you thinking about? One very simple one I will give you. You probably have been a lot on the phone calls when you're trying to explain a situation to a person on the phone and they cannot relate to you. And the advice that they actually give you doesn't match that. And the reason that advice does not match that is because they actually have not walked into your shoes and they do not know what you're feeling. So VR actually builds empathy. It's a perfect tool for that. One example I will give you is think about all the homeless people that are in San Francisco. And what is come to your mind when you see those people? I take my kids to Broadway shows a lot. And if you park your car and you walk through the district, you see homeless people on the street. And if you're like anything like me, I was scared. And then in VR, I had an experience of actually becoming homeless. That's not something I want to experience in real life, but VR gave me that opportunity. I put a headset on, and I had to sell items from my house because I was losing it. And then I was living in my car, and a policeman was knocking on my door. And then I had to ride a muni bus and had strange people trying to take away my last belongings. And that made me feel so much more compassion for those people on the street and see them as people, not as somebody that I should be afraid of. And VR is a perfect opportunity for you to think about the experiences of whether you want to try to tell somebody about the country you're from and how hard it is to live there, whether you want to develop some other empathy experience. Product managers, we are about changing the world and changing the life, and we want to move that needle forward. VR gives you a perfect opportunity to do that. Not to underestimate, there's a lot of challenges with building product for virtual reality. There is no definition. There is no 10 best practices out there of how to create a product for virtual reality. But you know what? The bigger the challenge, the bigger the opportunity for you to get out of there, learn, and define that space for you. There is not that many opportunities for us to get on that rocket ship. But right now, we do have this opportunity. And what I would like to leave you with is a quote from Mark Zuckerberg. Virtual reality was once a science fiction, but internet was once a dream, so was computers and smartphones. The future is coming, and we have a chance to change it together. Thank you.